Thank you so much.
You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. Except the yellow. All right. The Situate School Committee is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. All right, call the June 3rd Situate School Committee meeting to order at 6:04. And we'll begin with public comment. Seeing none, seeing no hands raised virtually either, we will move forward with our student reports with Louisa Kinsley and David Murphy. Former Situate High School students.
Former, yeah.
So dedicated.
Are we on? We're on, okay. Hi everyone, happy June. I hope you're all doing well. So to get started, we have some sports updates, including a whole laundry list of SHS seniors that are moving on to play at college athletics. So I'll try to move that through them a little quick.
No worries.
So we have Sarah Beal, who will be playing lacrosse at Mass Maritime. We also have Paige Bleckley, who will be swimming at the Stevens Institute of Technology, and Alex Burrell, who will be playing lacrosse at Roger Williams University. Max Carr will be playing football at Mass Maritime, and Paul Chevry, or P-Chev as his teammates call him, will be wrestling at Norwich University. Julie Green will be continuing her track and field career at Franklin Pierce University, while Charlotte Hoover is committing to the University of Maine for swimming. Michael Porter will be going to Ithaca College, where he will be playing basketball, and Matthew Short will swim at Vassar College. Finally, to add to the list of Mass Maritime athletes, James Sullivan will be playing lacrosse there, while Ryan Zona is committed to football. So we're wishing good luck to all of these athletes as they continue their careers in college. You've all made impressive steps that not many high school athletes are able to take, so congratulations. In addition to this exciting news for our future college athletes, girls and boys tennis, girls and boys lacrosse, and baseball have all made it to the MIAA tournament. Best of luck to our teams as they attempt to battle their way to the top of their brackets. Situate High School's senior dinner dance was on Wednesday, May 22nd at the River Club. It was a great night and everyone had a blast. Maybe a little too much of a blast because I was pretty burnt out the next few days, but that's okay. It was still a great week where the senior class also got to visit their elementary schools, of which Jenkins is clearly the best, despite what anyone might tell you. And we also got to see a comedy show in Boston, which is also super fun. So thank you for that. And of course, graduation was last Friday as well. And before I continue talking about it, I just want to tell Mr. Burkhead, I did actually make my bed this morning. So thank you for the great advice. My family was pleasantly surprised at that. So yeah, appreciate the advice. But overall, graduation was awesome and a really special day for us seniors. So thank you to all who helped support this great event. And while on this topic, I also want to shout out Louisa, who is class of 2024 valedictorian, gave a very touching and well-written speech that I think was a great send-off for the senior class. Yep, and I should also briefly mention Amani Somerville, who as the first African-American NHS president, gave a very moving speech about her experience as a Boston student at Situate. And then finally, I'd like to thank Mr. Loranger for his very heartfelt and personal speech. We've been so lucky to have him as a principal this year, and it almost makes me wish I had another year at SHS. So thank you. And on that note, I'll hand over the reins to Larissa. Have a great Monday evening. And I think if this is our last meeting that we'll be giving public comment at, I really want to thank you all. This has been really fun. Even to spend Monday nights at 6 p.m. to do. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Hi everyone. David and I actually prepared for the same part of our report, so I only have a couple things to add.
You were a little busy.
So math MCAS at Situate High School took place on Tuesday, May 21st and Wednesday, May 22nd. And Principal Ranger would like to thank Mrs. Kirk, Mr. Louette, and Mrs. Rundle for helping plan the important exam. And Situate High School had 100% sophomore attendance for Tuesday's exam, so not one sophomore was absent, which is awesome for MCAS. Biology MCAS is on Tuesday, June 4th and Wednesday, June 5th for all 9th graders. And finals for all underclassmen start on Friday, June 14th. And last for some news from guidance, Mrs. Rundle finished up AP exam makeups last week. So we want to thank her and all the students for all the hard work they put in, and also guidance and all of the department chairs. And that's all I have. So thank you all for this whole year and everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Will you guys come back in like a year?
Just to
When
make
you
a
come back
cameo.
for-
Yeah, Monday at 6.
Yeah, Monday 6.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
We're gonna have new reps.
All right, excellent. Up next on our agenda here is, we have a great set of retirees here that we would like to recognize and honor for your service to Situate Public Schools and our children. So from the bottom of my heart and everyone else here, thank you for all that you've done over the years to support the education of Situate's, young students all the way through, our student reps who will now go off to great things. So on behalf of the school committee, I thank you for all that you've done. And I will turn it over to Superintendent Burkhead for a few words before we present you with a gift.
Thank you, Ms. Brennan, and good evening, everyone. I just want to thank, I know they're already gone, but David and Louisa for their commitment, and I do believe this is the first group that came after graduation as alum. So they didn't feel any different, they said. They look great. And we'll call David tomorrow to make sure he makes his bed tomorrow, every day after that. And before I get to our featured guest tonight, I just wanted to, the kids alluded to this, just to thank everybody that was involved in graduation. It's one of my favorite evenings. I think I've gone to about 30 now, graduations, plus my own kids, so 32. And they're just emotional to me. It's a culmination of 12 years of hard work, effort, and just that's the kids and the parents, the staff, everyone that works with those children, to see them out there on a beautiful night on Friday with all their families, and I just like to absorb all the smiles and the happy energy. It's really special, so try to hold on to that evening. It's really great. So thank you everyone that made that happen. It's just a wonderful time of year, and all the senior celebrations were great. So to lead into that, it doesn't happen without great people. Me want to be an educator was my teachers and coaches. They motivated me as a young kid. Also my bus driver and custodian, it also motivated me in retrospect to be a good person. So I think a lot of the people that come in contact with our kids each day have an impact. And we have some great ones here tonight with hundreds of years experience. A lot of them came off, sadly, the beach or the restaurant or back from vacation to be here tonight. Everyone looks tan and well rested. So I want to thank them. So what we'd like to do is we're going to have individuals come up and just say a few words about each of our retirees and to thank them. And we have a little token of our appreciation. But thank you for all your time, effort, commitment to our community, our kids, our families. You made Situate a great place to be for all of us. So a round of applause for our retirees. And we'll start with Mr. Beatty.
All right, good evening. Thanks for having me tonight. I am excited to help celebrate 7 very special educators' retirement from the Situate Public Schools, many of whom are here tonight. The first person we'd like to recognize is Robin Bayardi. For the past 13 years, Robin has served students in the IXL and GLC programs as a specialized paraprofessional, Her kindness combined with her patience have helped students to meet high standards and become more independent. She has developed lifelong friendships with her students and their families and can often be seen around town supporting students as they enter the workforce or participate in extracurricular activities. Ms. Robin is an exceptional team player, and her willingness to go above and beyond is appreciated by her students and colleagues. We wish Ms. Robin the very best as she retires. She is now living in North Carolina, so has made the switch, and congratulations to Robin. Next up, we have Nancy Driscoll, right on the end. I probably have lipstick on me from her kiss earlier, but yes. Mrs. Driscoll began her career as a school counselor in 2000. Since then, she has supported thousands of students at both Wampatuck Elementary School and Gates Middle School. She has tirelessly worked to ensure that every student feels heard and understood, helping them to navigate the challenges of adolescence. Her dedication extends to families, providing them with the tools and support needed to advocate for children effectively. Through her compassionate efforts, Mrs. Driscoll has helped countless students and families to find their voices and to thrive. Congratulations, Nancy, on your Next up is Mr. English. Mr. English is retiring after 24 years of teaching in the Scituate Public Schools. Known for his knowledge of his subject, he pushed countless students to develop a passion for science. He maintained high academic standards and inspired his students to excel and achieve their best. As the cross-country and track coach, he instilled the values of discipline and perseverance, guiding many of our athletes to success. So congratulations to Mr. English. Next up, we have Carrie LaRossi. For the past 15 years, Mrs. LaRossi has been a social studies and ELA teacher at Gates. In her time here, she has transformed her classroom into a haven of intellectual and emotional growth. Through innovative lessons and a compassionate approach, she has inspired her students to think critically and empathize deeply with others. Ms. LaRossi challenges her students academically, pushing them to exceed their limits and discover their true potential. She provides unwavering personal support, ensuring that each student feels valued and understood, and her commitment has created a nurturing environment where our young minds and hearts flourish every day. So congratulations to Mrs. LaRossi. Next up, we have Ms. McAllister. Yes, so since 2007, Mrs. McAllister has supported students in the ECC, elementary schools, and ended her career at Gates Middle School. In her time at Gates, she arrived to work early and stayed late in order to best support her students. Her ability to break down complex tasks, coupled with her patience, have allowed students in our language-based classroom to flourish academically. Mrs. McAllister was always the first staff member to sign up to chaperone activities like Free Fun Fridays. She even came back after she retired to chaperone our disco dance. We miss her already for her dependability and her humor, and congratulations to you, Ellen. Next, we have Kathy Richards. Mrs. Richards joined the Scituate Public Schools in 1997 and served both as a special education teacher and math teacher at Hatherley Elementary School, Jenkins Elementary School, and ended her career at Gates Middle School. Regardless of her role, Mrs. Richards' optimism and perseverance rubbed off on her students, and she gave them the confidence they needed to achieve great things. She also served as a mentor to many of her colleagues, and her outside-of-the-box thinking helped other educators to approach students with learning differences in innovative ways. So congratulations to Mrs. Richards. And last but not least, Mrs. Sullivan. Mrs. Sullivan has dedicated her entire career to the noble cause of special education. Since 1988, she's been the driving force behind countless success stories as a special education teacher and evaluation team chairperson. She has advocated tirelessly for each and every student and ensured they receive the support and resources they needed to flourish. Her ability to see the potential in every child, to believe in their capabilities even when others may have doubted, has been nothing short of inspiring. We congratulate Mrs. Sullivan on well. So congrats to all. I believe we have gifts over here, and we will get them to you.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. Ms. Oldeck, next, please.
Good evening. It is my distinct honor and to present to you two of our retirees, only two retirees from Jenkins this school year. Mrs. Duffy, Kate Duffy, who's our 5th grade English language arts teacher, who's celebrating and retiring with 20 years of service. And also Abby Tickner, who is retiring with 18 years of service, and she's currently one of our kindergarten teachers. We had our 5th graders, Mrs. Duffy's current students, answer 2 questions for us. The first one was, how does Mrs. Duffy make learning fun? And the second one was, what do you think Mrs. Duffy should do after she retires? So here we go. All right, how does Mrs. Duffy make learning fun? She gives us different ways to learn, like Blue-Kits and working in table groups. We never do the same thing twice. She lets us express our ideas and have creative freedom, like writing fractured fairy tales. Picking good books for us to read, like A Long Walk to Water. By not making due dates too close to the start of the assignment. She makes things challenging, but is always there to help you. Teaching me proper English and a little bit of French. She prepares us for 6th grade by helping us be better writers and thinkers. So thank you, Ms. Duffy, for that. And now here's your advice from your current students. The first one's great. I think she should help her husband. I can tell that she cares for him very much. Yes. Teaching can be hard, especially when we're misbehaving. So there was a real theme about vacations you should take, Kate, and so I just made a list here. So she should take a vacation somewhere like to Hawaii, Aruba, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, Greece, New Zealand, Dominican Republic, or Malibu. But be sure to snorkel with the turtles, okay? Go to Paris to brush up on her French, eat lots of ice cream, be a substitute teacher for Jenkins, I second that. Get a cat or a clownfish for a pet. Be on the Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy because you're so smart. Become a librarian. And this, I think, is great advice for all of us. Try to see the good in everything as much as you can. We love you, Kate. And for Mrs. Tickner, so this was fun because the 5th graders also jumped on board to give Mrs. Tickner advice. So this is from the hearts and minds of our kindergartners in Abby's current kindergarten class, and then 5th graders who may have had Mrs. Tickner. So how does Mrs. Tickner make learning fun? She does fun freeze dances. She's so energetic. By making us feel safe and helping us. We take turns helping Mrs. Tickner. She let me draw during nap time. Letting us play with many toys while learning to read and write. We made leprechaun traps. She froze toys in ice and we had to figure out how to get them out. And just by being there. What do you think Mrs. Tickner should do after she retires? Relax, babysit Arlo, and pet her puppy Ruby. Stay home, whereas Kate's off around the world, but you need to stay home. Get 5 cats and 10 dogs. Treat herself to a nice restaurant. Join a band, which I think you already have, though, Abby, right? Help out at the town library, and then she should be chillaxing. Chillaxing, which I think I had to look that one up. But. So congratulations to Abby as well. We will miss you both.
Ms. Reardon?
Good evening. I am going to honor our one retiree, and we don't have her gift tonight because she's been so busy just dedicating her life to Wampatuck. She hasn't had time to submit her paperwork yet. So it's kind of like our little secret that she's retiring, and now all of you know, and everyone on TV knows too. So Sue Dunn. Wampatuck is saying farewell to a talented and highly respected educator. Sue has been a paraprofessional at Wampatuck for 25 years. She started volunteering in kindergarten when her children attended Wampatuck. Then she got a call from the principal asking if she'd be willing to be a para for a student who needed some help. Fortunately for us, she said yes. When her youngest was a sophomore at Situate High, she thought it might be time to leave, and then her grandson began his educational journey at Wampatuck, and Sue made the decision to stay. Ryan graduated on Friday from Situate High School, and Sue has decided it's time to say goodbye. In my time as the principal at Wampatuck, I've known Sue to be a kind, compassionate educator. She's always willing to help. She can work in any learning environment, music, PE, art, library, the classroom, and she always does it with a smile. Her greatest asset is her ability to connect with children. She leads with her heart and takes time every year to build strong, positive relationships with her students. She genuinely loves and cares about each one. As Sue wraps up her public school teaching experience at Wampatuck, the Wampatuck community would like to thank her for helping to shape the hearts and minds of our students, and we want to wish her the very best.
Dr. Rapp?
Bob Salloway came to Situate Public Schools as a 7D van driver in September of 2017. He's been a safe, reliable van driver during his time here, and he's done both work with the collaborative schools and the in-town routes, and was equally effective with both. We've been able to count on him to do any extra routes, and he's covered them all with ease. Bob's worked well with all of our van monitors, students, the families love him, and he makes the ride to and from school secure and pleasant. He's always gone the extra mile for students, and he'll leave very large shoes to fill when he leaves us. And Bob, we'll miss you and hope you enjoy your retirement in Florida. You have certainly earned it. I learned this evening that Bob isn't actually going to Florida until the spring. And since van and bus drivers never really retire here in Situate, you may be called back in the fall. We'll see.
Okay, I've got the last two. Rich Long, after 16 years with the district, is retiring as our technology director, an extremely hardworking, dedicated man of a department of 4 for a school of about 2,800 students and 500 staff is pretty incredible. I was impressed when I got here that we only had 4 people, and Rich was the type of guy that not only did he oversee the leadership role and the vision of the program, but also would often roll his sleeves up and get in and fix things, including my computer many times. So I want to thank Rich for his dedication and commitment and leaving us in such good hands. Applause for Rich. And next, one of the first people I met getting the job here 4 years ago, and one of the hardest working people I know is Miss Bonnie Donahue. After 25 years, not only did I learn so much from her about our district, the people, the community of Situate, but how to be a good parent and grandparent. I would often see Bonnie working late, coming in early, and having her grandchildren in tow. They'd be in coloring, she'd be teaching them, playing with them, I could hear the laughter in the office, and watching her work and being a role model for them, so that warmed my heart. She was also the office go-to for, just about anything. She was the knowledge bank that was our HR director, but could do any of our jobs. And so a huge loss in losing Bonnie. We had to call her back to help out at one of the elementary schools, and shortly after retired, and she said, "I'll be there." So that's the type of person she is. She's beloved in our town, in our district, and in our central office, and we wish her the best. We love you, Bonnie. Thank you. That concludes it. So retirees, you're welcome to stay the whole meeting. It's really interesting. But a good excuse would be to get up to go to the table, pick up your gift, and happy summer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's.
Ellen, thank you for everything. I'm gonna miss our PC talk. Come visit. Thank you for everything.
It's fine. I don't know why we, that's a piece, we keep trying it, keep kids.
That's a good time. Yeah,
Really good.
That's fun, yeah.
Maria and I were both crying.
Oh, I was at the cry.
I cried at a mine. Situate is a great
No high
place to
school.
work. Situate is a great place to work here. But that's what that means, right? Yeah. That was really. Well.
Hearts.
Right, let's do it. Keep going.
Yep.
You are correct. All right. Some new business to address here. Out of country field trip to Ireland. Hey, Shula.
Hello, hello, good evening. I think by now you know the drill with these exchanges because they are back and they are thriving. So I'll speed right through this. We're looking to do our exchange to West Cork, Ireland once again. It was so positively received on both sides that we want to alternate it with our Spanish exchange. So doing it next year allows us to start a better rotation of exchanges so that more students can participate, hopefully. So as you know, these are true homestay exchanges. We travel to West Cork, Ireland. We are opening this trip up to students in grades 9 through 12. The reason we are opening to our younger students is just because there is no language barrier and it's a quick, flight from Terminal B, so it doesn't feel as international as some of our other exchanges. So we like that we can get our younger students traveling as well. We will host in October. We're looking at dates October 20th to the 30th of this coming school year, and then traveling a little bit later in the school year. So unfortunately, we will miss the St. Patrick's Day celebrations, but that's a big week off for them. So having us was not ideal. So we're looking to travel more in April or May of 2025. The cost of the trip will remain at $1,600 again next year, which is great. And we have some additional scholarship money available through the Sister City group that you met the last time we did this presentation. So they were a big part of the trip, and they're going to help our students financially if need be again. And I think that's it. Any questions?
I have one question. When you say April, this is such a personal question. When you say April or May, you don't mean April vacation week potentially, do you?
I don't think April vacation will work for them.
Okay.
But we'll try to utilize as many weekend days as possible so that they don't miss tons of school.
Just curious.
What I do need to wait and see is the AP testing calendar, and then I'll wanna look at the MCAS testing calendar as well and make sure we can squeeze it in before that testing begins.
And when you say 9 through 12, you mean rising 9?
Yes.
So current 8?
Yes, we've gotten a few emails from them interested. We took 9th graders last time and they did fine.
Well, they go to Quebec and everything, and they have a
That's
wonderful
true.
time there,
Yeah.
so.
Yep, and that's their, yep,
things.
get your taste and how was it? Was it great? Yep. And one awesome thing, and she's here tonight, is Kelly, Nurse Kelly has offered to chaperone, which relieves a great
Wow,
amount.
that's so nice of you.
Isn't that amazing?
my way to give back.
Taking one for the team. Really taking a big one for the team. No, but in all honesty, it relieves a lot of stress and pressure for us because we have the nurse traveling with the group. So although, that's just a tremendous reassurance to our parents. Although her nursing license doesn't work over in Ireland, it's just a wonderful reassurance.
Still knows.
Have a good time. After all the COVID stuff, you deserve a trip to Ireland. Go.
Ms. Scholler, did we see that the deadline to apply for that is coming up?
It's fast approaching because they ended school on May 31st. So applications are due this Friday. Of course, we always let them.
And how do the students know, they know about this?
So that was the third layer, but there was morning announcements. We held an H-block meeting last week. I visited a few world language classrooms today.
Tell us
I
anything.
think I saw someone you know. And then I've only gotten a few applications and I know there's much more interest. So it went on digital comms and was followed up with an email because of the close turnaround in timing. It's the end of the school year.
I saw it today.
Am I the liaison to Sister City?
Sister Cities, you are.
Oh.
I guess you have to go.
Uh-oh.
Should we talk later, maybe? Okay, I like it. It's too bad the retirees ran out. That's a great pool of potential chaperones, and they have some time on their hands now, so, anyway.
All right, well, take a motion on Ireland 2025 field.
I make a motion that the school committee vote to approve the out-of-country field trip to Ireland in 2025.
Second.
You have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Rab, vehicle surplus.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I learned soon after I began here that over at Hatherley, we kind of have a vehicle graveyard. And so I've been learning, you've seen it, so I've been trying to get a handle on what we have, what we use. And in fact, we can sell them and, we'll get something. The timing for this is good because right now the town has a lot of surplus vehicles and surplus equipment that they're auctioning off. And so Mrs. Holt reached out and said, hey, not for nothing. We have the auctioneer coming, with the permission of the school committee, we can actually auction these two vehicles off. One of them is affectionately known as Bob Dylan's old van. And it was bought in 2019, a used 2010 at the time, so it's almost 14 years old, and has served a very useful life. And the other one is a 2009 E150 that was an old student transportation van that's no longer in service. And so frankly, for a lot of reasons, liability being one of them, I'd like to get them off of our lot as we start to clean Hatherley for future things too.
Yes. All right, great. Any questions or? Yeah.
So when are we gonna try auctioning first and then selling if they don't go by auction?
They should auction. I think
Okay.
we'll get a minimum. I could put a minimum price and say, if we don't get so much money, then we could try to sell them.
Yeah.
But they're so old, where they're 14, 15 years old. I think the best course of action is
Parts.
auctioning and parts and everything else. I'm not to speculate, but if we get $300 or $400 worth,
Really?
great. Yeah, they're not worth much. No.
I was gonna say 1,000.
Yeah, no, I would hope, but
Environmentally safe
no, I
disposal,
think.
Yeah.
I know.
Sounds like they're.
Well, that's what could happen if we continue. Right, and we're insuring them and
Cost
everything else.
All right, sounds good to me. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a motion on the vehicles. Okay, yeah, anyone who's.
I make a motion that the school committee vote to approve the 2010 Ford F-150 and 2009 Ford E-150 surplus so they can be sold at auction or otherwise disposed of in an environmentally friendly manner.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Principal Beatty and Oldash for the EOT update.
I'm stuck with me too.
And Ms. Steph.
Ms. Brindley, I just need to share my screen.
No problem.
It just needs
And you
to
need
be
me to do something?
enabled.
But I need, Kath,
Seth needs to give
Oh.
him permission
but can you share? Can you share it?
or make him
Oh.
a co. Can you
I
just
can-
make
oh,
Ryan
yeah.
a co?
I should be able to do that.
That'd be the
Yeah.
easiest thing. Should be up in the corner. No dots.
I have dots, I just don't have
Might have to ask
the
Seth.
co. I am a co-host, but I don't have.
You should be able to make Ryan.
Click on him.
Click on Ryan.
I did.
Nothing there?
No.
Or just ask Seth.
Seth,
Hello.
if you're available. Or Heidi, yeah.
You can also change the restrictions on share, it might be limited. Share screen if you're a co-host. Change the permissions. Might just have to act it out, Ryan.
I'm so sorry. Mr. Beatty, you need me, yes, apologies.
I know.
All right, Mr. Beatty, you should be all set. Apologies on that.
Thank you
No
very
worries,
much.
thank you. He really
Yeah, I
is.
know.
My goodness.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Good evening, I'm Mary Oldak, I'm the principal at Jenkins Elementary and the co-chair of the Emergency Operations Planning Team for Situate Public Schools, along with Ryan Beatty, the middle school principal, and joining us tonight is Kelly Bell, our nurse leader. So the Emergency Operations Planning Team is a very robust team that has been meeting weekly this entire school year to work on our emergency operation plan for our schools. And it includes Situate Public School employees, Chris Cataldo, our Assistant Director of Facilities, Rich Long, our Director of Technology. We've also had John Fitzgerald, our Situate Teachers Association representative, join us. It's been really great to have his input and perspective from the teacher's point of view. And then we have our first responders, Nick Sherry and Marissa Stewart, our SROs, along with Mike Prouty, one of our sergeants on the police force, and Patrick Riley, the deputy chief of the fire department. And everyone has been very loyal in attending these weekly meetings all year long to work on this plan, which Ryan will go into more depth, but it's very comprehensive. I think it's about 127 pages long. There we go. So the purpose of the EOPT, or the Emergency Operations Planning Team, is to oversee the planning and execution of emergency preparedness in our schools. And we've been focusing on these three areas to develop, educate, and execute action items. By developing, we're talking about the plan itself, as well as ensuring consistency across the district, that our elementary schools, middle school and high, that there is a consistent response and plan so that it becomes like muscle memory for our staff and students and for the responders. And so that people just know what to expect and feel confident and secure. We're educating our staff and students by doing drills and teaching them about new protocols. We'll talk more about that further on in the presentation. And with our families, as we have drills and things happen in the schools, how we communicate with families, just so everyone feels more secure and has more confidence that Situate is ready. We also have things that just pop up during the school year, like the hoax bomb threats this year, the traffic concerns around the middle and high school that we have also worked on that just have kind of come up organically through the school year. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, who's going to talk more about what we've developed along with Kelly.
Thanks, Mary. So our big task this year was to develop what is called the Situate Public Schools School Emergency Operations Plan. And this is a plan that it is June, we have one more Monday meeting. where we're putting our final touches on it, and then we are submitting it to the superintendent, as well as the police chief and the fire chief, and we have to submit this to the Department of Education by September 1st. This is a 130-page document that essentially provides us with a blueprint for what to do in any type of emergency situation. Anything from terrorism threats to kidnapping to flooding and lightning to gangs, really. So it's been a very interesting kind of weekly update talking about all of these different things and kind of what are the roles and responsibilities of not only school staff and district staff, but also community members and community resources like the Situate Police Department, Situate Fire Department, and it's been really great working together and kind of hearing different perspectives and putting together plans so that if any of these things ever were to happen, we would have a plan in place that we could refer to. Also within it is one of the things we're most proud of is we have developed a reunification plan. What that means is if we ever do need to evacuate any of our schools, there is a place in town where we will go. We have identified a site. We have worked with the staff at that site. We have developed kits that are needed. And so we are ready to go if we ever needed to evacuate a school and then figure out how do we reunify parents and children in a safe way. We have that plan in place. And hopefully we'll never need to use it, but if it happened tomorrow, it's all ready to go. So those were kind of the big developmental pieces that we worked on all year. Under the umbrella is a separate part of this plan that I'll turn over to Kelly and she'll be able to explain what that piece is.
Okay, thank you. So part of this emergency operation plan is something called the Medical Behavioral Health Emergency Response Plan. The Medical Emergency Response Plan is not new to us. We've submitted it to the state every 3 years. It's basically a document that outlines protocols for safety, response, crisis response team members, who they are, how you locate them, their phone numbers, who responds in an emergency. The document includes things like how many AEDs does each building have. It's very specific to each building in our district. So what is the response time for Situate Fire or Situate Police to any of our campuses? Who is on those, like I said, the crisis response teams, building based. In 2022, the state had added a behavioral health emergency component, which I think is super important. And what this does is outline protocols for individuals that may be having a behavioral health emergency and how we respond to that, very similarly to how we respond to a medical emergency. And this outlines different scenarios based on their level of severity, if it's life-threatening, if it's urgent, if it's non-urgent. We collaborated with school adjustment counselors, Jen Lopes at the high school and Lindsay Newton at the middle school, who helped put eyeballs on this well. They're the mental health experts in our building. We wanted their input. The state did provide a model plan for us, so we didn't totally reinvent the wheel, but we definitely tweaked it to make it Situate specific and really put a lot of thought and work into how to best respond if these situations come up, and that will live under the umbrella of this bigger EOP. Okay. Put that back. Okay.
So our next objective was to educate not only staff and students, but families in the community. We see our work as being a 5-year, 10-year plan because things are always changing and evolving. One of the things we did this year was we educated our staff on an electronic platform that we're going to be adopting in the near future, which allows for educators to communicate with crisis responders and those people who are in charge of emergency situations using their cell phone and a way to account for students, because we know in real life emergencies we don't have time to get clipboards and find rosters and all of that. So that is a piece that we introduced this year, and we will continue to kind of practice with it because we know communication during situations that involve emergencies is critical, and there are tools out there that will help us to ensure that people get the right information that they need at the right times. We We are working right now to develop an overview of this plan. We don't want to just give this 130-page document to staff members. We want to kind of kick it off and then explain what it is. We anticipate that there's going to be a sense of relief and gratitude and appreciation, knowing that someone somewhere has thought of these things and people don't need to be thinking about things in the moment. So we are excited to share our work, but also, we've always had plans for lockdowns and stay in place and all of that. But these plans kind of go beyond that, and emergencies happen all the time, and just the fact that we'll be able to have something that we can share with people will be great. And then this year we streamlined our communication after our drills, so it looked the same in every building, in the sense of this is what we practice, this is why we do it. And so it's our goal eventually, I think in our next year, to think about community forums and how do we educate people on, not the fine details of our plans, but also just how do we reassure people that we have plans in place, and to kind of gain the trust and strengthen that trust. Finally, as Mary shared at the beginning, we executed any items related to safety, and it's great to have so many different people sitting around the table talking about things like hoax bomb threats, things like stop signs and crosswalks, and it's been great because oftentimes the police department will share their ideas and the school department will share their ideas and the fire department will share a completely different idea, and we come together and we said this is how it all will work. So we're happy to execute kind of all of those things that fall under a emergency or safety component. So back to Mary.
Okay, so as we look forward to next school year, as Ryan mentioned, we need to submit the school emergency operation plan to DESE by September 1. So we'll be working through that process with the superintendent and the police chief and fire chief this summer. We plan on having a community forum on school safety next school year to present some of the components of the plan to our families, as we can't get into all of the fine details of locations and things like that, because that can open up a second target. So there's certain parts of it, and we'll be planning on that next school year. One thing that's been really interesting is things do happen in the schools. We do debrief and we learn from that and refine our responses and how things happen, who needed to be involved, who wasn't involved, or people's responses, and getting feedback from the staff that were involved in everything from that outdoor speaker wasn't working, we need to get that fixed. For professional development, in addition to presenting this to staff on opening day, we do have some of our counseling staff that is putting together a risk assessment professional development to be held during next school year. And we also have a lot of interest in first aid responses, everything from CPR and first aid to other types of first aid that's more specific to certain situations. Just in case kits, we had a presentation, I think was back in January, about the SANS partnership, and those kits are going to be, they're fundraising for them now, and they're going to be in every teaching space in all of the schools. I think we counted over 100 kits that we need, and they're going to be age specific, so that if a class is in a location for a period of time, that there's everything the teacher may need, from medical information to things to keep the kids happy and busy, like coloring sheets and games and things to keep them occupied. So that's our plan for next year, and those are our goals and big tasks that we'll be looking forward to. It's exciting to finally have something concrete to present to our staff and to our community and to our parents, and to reassure them that Scituate's ready. Okay. Any questions?
Any questions?
First of all, thank you for this. I think that, ultimately, the safety of our students is our number one priority, is all of our number one priority, right? And we don't always talk about this. So I echo your sentiment. It's nice to have your work documented and I guess on paper. With that being said, could you talk a little bit about the deadline or the necessity to have a plan? I don't think I was aware. I thought that it was something that Situate was choosing to do and have documented, or this is something that every district is required to do, and is it every year, or every 3 years has to be renewed? And I ask that because as the new elementary project goes through, I'm not sure if that will impact our plan at all. So if you have any comments on that.
I'll start and then I think I'll turn it over to Kelly. As Kelly was looking at this new requirement for the mental health and plan, the new plan that was required by September, we kind of unearthed the need to update and submit the SEOP that's more comprehensive because that's a component of that. Would you say, Kelly?
Yep, so the plan, all districts have to submit this more comprehensive plan. We have always had the medical emergency response plan that we've submitted every 3 years. This is a new template that all districts have to do by September 1st. It will be reviewed annually, but it will be resubmitted every 3 years, or in the case of, say, a campus like the new school, when the new school is built, any sort of physical plant change, obviously you have to do a new plan for that space. So both the medical behavioral health emergency response plan and the SEOP will be reviewed annually, but submitted every 3 years.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Want to echo Peter's thank you for this because I know it's a huge undertaking, but it is really important. And I also was just thinking back to the hoax bomb threat at the middle school, and I know we had a hiccup with emails and getting information out to families, and I think it's been addressed. But I was just curious if any of you kind of could close the loop, just because I think for parents, and I also made me wonder what, if anything, is in the family handbooks that go home in the fall, just to make parents aware, like, hey, you got to make sure you do these things to make sure you're getting the emails or whatever, just so that we can make that process more smooth. And I know email is imperfect, we don't own it. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, but I think you guys had a workaround. So I was just curious if you could share.
Yeah, so I think like the group said, first of all, I'd like to say, I think this group may be the model for the state. I think what most schools do is fill us out like, a month before it's due, and every 3 years, always something we just have to do. That's what we found in our older archive document, it was very outdated. We started this committee almost 2 years ago, and I want to thank this group and all of the group, because I think for a lot of the things, to get a community group like the police and fire with leadership roles to commit to this, teachers and our administrators weekly, collaboration that happens is impressive, and it's not happening in most places, I'll tell you that. And we just got tired of being reactionary. I think Mr. Gates put it very well that this is the most important part of all of our jobs. And oftentimes it's left to react when something happens. And so this group started after the shootings, quite honestly, what are we gonna do about that? We focused there, and then we just branched out and said, let's take a comprehensive look at all our safety protocols, our trainings, and be proactive and have an answer for everything. So the good news on the bomb threat was that our administrative assistants, our administrators all had been trained. So all the protocols were followed. Our kids were always safe. Yeah. So I think the communication part was a separate piece. And to answer your question, Ms. Fenwick, was that, and like Mary pointed to earlier, we have this team now to go and debrief with and send them, this is how it all went down, we have a captive audience. Then I would join those meetings, and certain other people would come into when we had a specific case. And we reassess what went well, what needed to be improved so that it could be done better. And it certainly could have in that case. But the good news is, so for the parents out there, that these things are examined when they do happen. Now I think with confidence we can say for almost any case, although in my 30 years always something new pops up, I'm sure you agree, we're very well prepared and trained. I think that's the other part. We do, this group often does trainings, and I like the last piece we talked about. It took a few years to get here because we want to have the foundation done, is community involvement and training and forums. involve the parents and community members, because it's important that they're partners in this, that they understand what we're teaching here and that they can help out at home reinforce. So very excited about what the work that's been done, but also that this, like Kelly said, this will go on for, well, I said 5 to 10 years. I don't see this group dissolving anytime.
Yeah, I think the parent forums are a really good idea. And I think that point that you made is a really good one, that, you know, the main work of the school is to keep the kids safe, and parents may not find out about it immediately, but rest assured the most important part is happening. And obviously I know parents will want to know, how do I make sure I know that everything's okay? So I do think that's important. And the other thing I was going to say that feels important to address at those forums early on is I think sometimes parents can get a little scared when they see things like bomb threat training and, you know, fire drills or whatever it is. And so I think reassurance for parents that this is a very capable team of educators and professionals that came together to build the plan is going to be really important to communicate out to families so that they just have that reassurance. But I think the forum is an awesome idea.
I just want to comment, kind of piggyback on that, about the community forums, because I think one thing the parents, I think getting across how information is disseminated when there's an emergency, like the bomb threat, because I think at some point during these emergencies, the communication is taken out of the school's hand and into the, like the fire chief or the police chief, and so it's up to them. And I think if more parents are made aware of that piece, then they won't be like, you know, the Facebook page is like blowing up, like what's, you know, what's going on, and my kid said this, and so it just, and the more parents who know the process, they can tell other parents, like, no, this is what's happening, this is what you can expect.
Thank you. A point that I think is a really good point. I think this is a good example of something that happened, we were prepared for it, but we haven't got the parent piece yet. And I think that's a conversation, and, you know, Senator pointed it out as well, that we can share proactively before these things happen on some of the whys. For example, Facebook is always gonna beat us to the punch, and that we can't share information until we are confirmed, like you said, so this is out of our hands, to the chief of police and the fire have said, okay, we can share this now because it won't jeopardize the safety of the kids involved. So in that other example, if we were to, you know, kids have phones, teachers have phones, so already it was out there, you know, and then the phone, literally the phone game, that rumors start and misinformation happens, not maliciously, but, you know, out of, you know, necessity, parents get anxious, and, you know, but if parents understand that the children are safe always, and that communication will come when it's been validated X, Y, and Z, and we should give some examples, you know, but it didn't help in that case because, you know, in retrospect, it was too long, so we learned. So I think, but then we sent something out with the chief and I, just clearing that up and saying, yeah, we could do better. Kids were safe, our communication wasn't great there, so again, learning experience, but that, again, like anything, it's that trust building with that, and putting parents at ease, like you said, that they know that we have plans, that we're qualified, and that we're working together with the police and fire on a weekly basis, not just as it happens. I think those community forums will act as reassurance, but also getting feedback from the community and from parents on, oh, you know, there's probably questions that we haven't even thought of that they may have, and what makes them anxious and what might help them. And, you know, I think when we get to that point, we're really hitting on all cylinders, getting the feedback from the community and from parents on how they best wanna be communicated with in these situations, so.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said too. I think we have that unique, we have the middle school and high school campus, so when things which tend to happen more frequently at a high school setting, I think we have that added component in there that it can quickly and easily sort of trickle into middle school, which I think is what we saw with that last incident that Maria was referencing. You know, technically a high school incident, but it almost seemed like middle school was a little bit even more jarred than high school through that. So looking forward to more about the community forum. I think it's fantastic, and we appreciate all your hard work, and weekly meetings are a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, school committee summer schedule. Thought we were going to Ireland. No?
The retreat?
Yeah, retreat in Ireland.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All right, so we don't really have any proposed dates, do you, Bill? You're just here every day.
I'll be here. And night. Yeah, I think that's something for you to consider, and we could do that at the next meeting if you'd like. It was just something to
Yeah.
kind of start thinking about. We can get you, if you'd like, last year's summer schedule to look at as a guide, as a basis, but it's ultimately your call on how many meetings and when for July and August, that type of stuff. Yeah. Typically, we take in July off.
Yeah,
and do it.
yeah,
But again, every year it's worth discussing.
We did a retreat. I thought it was
Right.
one.
it depends, like, yeah, it's a little bit, sometimes, like our first meeting of the school year, this past year, I believe, actually fell in August, was technically our first.
Like there's two months of this.
Yeah, there's been one in August or two, depending on the school starts, but, one thing of note, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand, but we do have June 17th on the calendar too. You know, we can talk more about that later, but thinking about, having that be more of a workshop style meeting than a, presentation-based meeting. So that sort of counts as a summer, maybe?
Yes, and you'd mentioned that, so what we did, just so you know, was we moved a lot of the 17th, we cleared the 17th agenda, then put everything, all these things tonight.
Oh, okay,
So
perfect.
that agenda is cleared now for
Great.
your opportunity if you'd like to do a workshop or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever you'd like.
Okay, but not in replacement of our August retreat.
Yeah, but we could
You
do
do.
like logistical
Yes.
management stuff on the 17th and then save the retreat
Mhm.
for like more exploratory, bigger topics maybe.
Yep.
Like, I don't know.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Anyone else thoughts?
Sure, that
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so we
already
can,
have it scheduled.
yeah, perfect. We can take a look at, calendar, or maybe, yeah, we can look at what we did last year even and just sort of try to line it up, and if anyone has a conflict, we'll move it. Should be easy.
Okay.
All right.
So we're not voting on a calendar.
Yeah.
Do we have our school committee calendar voted yet, like non-summertime yet?
Dates for September and on?
September,
I don't think so.
we might just wanna do that too, because
Okay.
Labor Day is early this year, school starts really early, so I'm not sure how that will coordinate
Right,
with
right.
setting our first meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, you might as well, if you're doing just the summer, you might as well do
just
it.
go for it,
Yeah.
yeah. So all meetings.
Right, because first day of school is what, the 4th
Mhm.
or the 4th?
Wednesday. But our first meeting would obviously not be the second, so it would either be
Right.
the previous
August.
for August,
Right.
or we'd probably skip to at least the 9th.
So kind of want to back into that maybe, because if we have an August 26th meeting before the first day of school.
Right.
Would that be a meeting or a retreat? The 26th.
The retreat would be earlier August.
Okay.
Gives us a little space to.
Yeah, do we wanna talk about vacations? Do we wanna just like talk, do we wanna do this now? Are we doing this now or no?
Well, why don't you just email me
Okay.
if anyone has any specific block time that they're not gonna be around for July or August, and
Okay.
I'll talk to Bill and see what we can come up with, and we'll, on the 17th, we can finalize. Great.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Old business, superintendent evaluation. Bill's favorite meeting. All right. All right. So first, thank you to Carrie for collaborating with me and putting this together, and to everyone else on the committee for your very important and thorough, thoughtful feedback on the 2023-2024 school year, specifically for Bill. So before we jump in, we tried to sort of go against the grain on using that cumbersome document as a report out on this publicly. You know, I will send the formal document over to Bill for his files and review and all of that official business, but for our reporting out, we sort of wanted to
And we all
summarize.
filled them out.
Yes,
We all- so if you
individual,
wanna see that.
exactly, individual evaluations, and we'll do the group as well. But this we thought was a little bit more, I don't know, friendlier way and more digestible report out on our summary. So the first section of the evaluation speaks to the progress towards the district goals. Or Bill's goals for the district. So professional practice goal, and universally everyone found that that was a met goal for this year. Just to kind of refresh, it was, we will participate in statewide and national professional development that will directly impact and help navigate political complexity and stay the course on our commitment to all students. So lots of comments and feedback from the committee. It does get a little bit daunting to read them all out, but maybe to highlight a few, and I welcome any committee members who wanted to sort of, in their own words, jump in and comment as well. So lots of positive comments about Superintendent Burkhead and progress on navigating complex situations, just lots of continual learning is admirable, evidence of commitment to professional development, particularly at central office and building leadership level. So lots of really positive comments on that first piece. Anything anyone wants to add above and beyond here? Student learning goals, we all agreed that significant progress had been made towards those. So with both the accountability ratings piece at the high school, as this was a two-part goal, as well as the MTSS component to this goal. Just, again, lots of very encouraging and positive feedback from the committee. Focus on the high school was concerning, which we all could agree with, but, very prudent in its identification, and we commend Superintendent Burkhead for publicly commenting on the need to improve student proficiency in math and science. So we appreciated that push there. Let's see. The first goal is hard to measure without the final data, but the district is making strong progress. Maybe an opportunity to consider systematic formative updates in this area. We want to learn more about the benchmarks and more student supports and how they'll be communicated. Lots of positive feedback for the Lexile level tracking for 6 through 12. Very huge and important step. Lots of positive feedback on, again, more Lexile level tracking, standardization for math curriculum, benchmark assessments, just a really impressive effort and so much work in the area with CLFI literacy, beyond noteworthy expansion of AP programs, just so many, it's almost an overwhelming amount of pieces that have been touched on this year and progress that's been made. It's hard to note them all, but certainly, and I'll speak for the committee and anyone can jump in, that we collectively feel that this is on the right track and look forward to next steps here on all of this, especially MTSS and of course, continued growth at the high school level as well. Anyone else for the student learning goals?
Yeah, I think that as noted here, we don't know the outcomes yet of any changes or progress that was made this year relative to, I guess, well, specifically math and science with MCAS are being taken out, so we're not gonna know until when, September, October?
Yes.
So we don't know, so this theoretically could have a different rating, better or worse, depending on the outcome, in my opinion. But based on what we have now, I feel like significant progress is the right outcome.
On that topic,
I read the mask guidance on these evaluation documents, because this is my first time really doing one. And I noted that when a superintendent has had, I think, 3 years in the role, you can switch to a 2-year cycle. And I was wondering if that might be something that we would want to talk about, because that could allow for us to not have to be so like
Yes.
constrained.
We don't wanna talk about it. Want me to make a motion?
Candace right now is gonna make a motion. But honestly, I just think that makes so much more sense with the way that the school year data falls. Like, if we're never, I've been asked this question on the mask listserv to see if like anyone has an evaluation cycle that they love, and no one does, because it's really hard
Yeah.
to get all this data and also set goals so that we're not setting goals like in December, you know, we don't wanna be doing that either. And so, I think that's something we should entertain.
Is that, I wanna say that I knew that, but I forgot, so it's 3 years, then you can go 2 years, so we're Bill's in 4, correct? Finishing 4, so
We
if
can
that's
do-
accurate, we can, I think that's a great thing to discuss.
And so I think how it works, my understanding is, I think you have to put in data into DESI every year by July or something like that. But so if you're in the off cycle year, you just carry forward from the prior. But it also allows for more, like, we can still do a formative conversation, you know, to check in. But I think that would just relieve some of the pressure on trying to find the right perfect way to measure.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And Bill, I just don't know,
Good.
I just mentioned this to Nicole earlier, I think, if we do the 2-year, is that something that you would have to agree to in your contract? Or would you just, assuming that we can go this route, is that something that you would need to approve?
I think it's worth asking, you just did, so thank you.
I was gonna say, we don't have to ask.
You're the
them
boss.
right now.
But, no, I think it makes sense. I almost brought it up this year, but when I, kind of like Ms. Fennel, when I queried the superintendents, some were doing it, some weren't, mixed reviews, and so I just said, well, let's just kind of stay with what we're going with, play it safe. But, the point we just made up, it seems like there's always like,
Something missing.
well, we're always kicking the final product to the next year, so a 2-year goal would have to be actually quite honestly better. And a little more helpful, because it does take for data, for trends, for things like that to look at. We could, and informatives make sense, how are you doing after 1 year, are you on track, and get feedback at that point. So this, we could still have these conversations, which would be helpful, but it will also allow us to get real and not have this conversation, well, we gotta wait till the fall to find out if we really achieve this one. I think it's hard to make goals when, percentile ranking is a big part of what we do, but we don't get it to the following fall, so it's kind of like MCAS. It's after the fact, but if we go 2 years, we can include that.
Yeah, and is it accurate to say that we just shifted our evaluation, because it used to be like in August we would do it, but I think, did we vote last year that we would now do it on the election cycle? Is this the first year we did it in May, or did we do it last year in May as well?
I think we, yeah.
Good, all right, so it's been 2 years where we've done it in May, but before it was like an August
Oh,
eval,
really?
yeah.
I think you guys
That was like before
gave the
me.
evaluation at my first meeting last year. Like, the content of this meeting was the content of last meeting last year. It was my first meeting. I
Yeah.
remember I was like,
So we finally got
Oh,
onto the right election cycle, but now we're in that kind of weird phase. where we're-
It's always
been May.
No,
No.
no, it's
It's
always been
August.
August.
Yeah.
When
It
we,
was
Janice and I
August.
first started,
It
it
was
was
I would
August.
say since I've been on the committee, it's been.
Yeah.
No,
It used to
We
be
sw-
May.
we
But you
switched
guys
it.
probably switched it then.
We switched it after the first year, because it was so
Good job,
late.
Janice and Peter.
After your first year,
Oh, yeah.
after Bill's first year.
We did
That
it
would have
late
been
the
3 years
first
ago.
year too.
Okay,
and then-
3
that's
years
fair,
ago.
yeah.
But then we came under, the dilemma was with the potential of new committee members.
Yeah.
That would come into the first meeting and know my work for a week, having to
Right.
evaluate, so they'd be
That's
left
weird,
out.
yeah.
And you just plan for the worst cases, 2 or 3 new people.
Yeah.
There's 1 or 2 people evaluating, the people that are leaving gonna evaluate, probably not. So it was better, the problem with that, there's pros and cons. The problem with that is it's so early. I presented to you, this was a little later this year, but you're getting information at the end of April, really.
Yeah.
And you still got 2 months of school left. So again, another benefit of the 2-year would be, maybe we could do the formative now in June, so we've got 1 year. It just gives us a little more flexibility.
Yeah. No, Marie, thanks for
Time.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna do the 2-year, which I'm completely in favor of, we just have to make sure that your goals at the beginning of the year, if they're 2-year goals, that for that year,
we have measurable goals for that, for the formative part of that, right? That they sort of like breaking it down into smaller goals so that we're making progress towards.
Right, it wouldn't make sense for you to find out if.
Yeah, that
That would
way,
be a downside.
yeah.
Yeah, I found it. Experienced superintendent is a superintendent who's been in the role for 3 years or longer and or in the district for 3 years or longer. And then at that point, you can make the decision to do a 1 year or 2 year cycle at the discretion of the school committee, it says.
All right.
Like it.
Defining the length of the cycle in contract language in this case could be helpful. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think even that said, some of these goals are, as we know, like MTSS is, that's a long-term goal even beyond 2 years, but yeah, exactly.
Well,
MSBA is a perfect
The
example.
building project, for example,
Yeah.
would be a
there's no
5-year
way.
goal, we could have broken that.
I will say, when I use the form though, through DESI, like the ratings, I'm sort of looking at, was this chunk of the project, completed?
Yeah.
Or met just based on this timeframe, not like the school's open and operating. I'm only literally slicing out that piece of it, even with MTSS, like, okay.
I think that's Dr. Kowski's point is that the 2-year goal would have been the design phase completed, which is next year's. This year's formative check-in would have been
Right.
getting SDS and so
Yeah.
there'd be
Yeah.
check-ins.
Okay.
Great.
Makes sense. All right. District improvement goal, so MSBA project, obviously met, met and then some, I would say. Tremendous job, just the time commitment alone, running daily operations of the district, lots of themes on that from each of us. Passionately take on advocating Situate above and beyond, including but not limited to managing aspects of the project such as public relations, communications, timelines, budgeting. As being as close to the project as I've been, above and beyond doesn't really measure it for me at all. I really feel like Bill took on aspects of the project that were, I don't even know how to measure it. It was just a lot. So always going to be appreciative for that, and exemplary, honestly, like exemplary. I think other districts who are doing projects should be reaching out to you every day, because there's definitely a blueprint that's here, and I don't know. Impressive. Anyone else? Additional comments on that?
Yeah, I can speak to that too, because I also just thought this was such an area of strength. And I think what it adds up to is doing all the little things right is what really builds the trust that we need for the rest of the town to say, okay, yes, we want to vote on this. And yes, we're going to, trust the school committee and the school administration to take care of the buildings we have. Like, that piece was so crucial to getting to yes. And we wouldn't have been able to get there without the proof being in the pudding already. And so like all those little things just add up over time. And I think like this is not something that someone could swoop in and pull off real quick. This is something that's like a million tiny things done right over time. And I think that's what makes it so impressive.
Yeah, so this was one or two committee members clearly exceeding. But just how the form works overall, we take kind of an average and it always seems to work out. But all 5 of us had nothing but stellar, positive comments on that. All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Burkowski to talk a little bit more about the standard piece to the evaluation.
Yeah, so for folks who haven't been able to see the form, there's 4 standards that are included in this evaluation. And I'm gonna talk about instructional leadership and the management piece. And so again, for folks who don't have the form, instructional leadership includes curriculum, instruction, assessment, evaluation, data-informed decisions, and student learning. And certainly not to anybody's surprise, there was a proficient rating. The ratings in terms of committee members broke down for evaluation, the evaluation piece, it was all proficient. And then for every other category, it was 3 proficient and 2 needing improvement. And so I think on the whole, again, we're so proud of the district and Bill and the teams for all the work that they're doing. And
I was talking to Nicole over the weekend while we were working on this, and the hard thing, Bill, I think for you as a leader and for your team is that we are doing amazing as a district, especially when you look at other districts, and yet we can still find things where we want to grow and improve, right? So like, so it's just having to hold both of those things, that we just want you to hear that we believe in what you're doing and that you're doing well, and that we are still gonna find places where we can do better. It's just, and I think that's what you want. So the comments reflect that. We're just really happy seeing, we were calling them macro level improvements. So really that bird's eye look at math curriculum, science, and that again is reflected in our budget and how we're investing different resources in ELA and now in math. Improving assessments, improving the use of assessments, transitioning toward data-informed decisions, and really promoting the learning and growth of all students and success. We're appreciative and seeing more accountability, like really, doing more, giving more autonomy and agency to the folks who are on the ground doing the work and who know, are the experts in these areas. And so having the department chairs, I'm thinking of some of the presentations this year, talking to us about the additional courses and the changes and matching it to the industry standards and certifications. We just really love where that's going. And again, that last bullet, we're just really confident in what you're doing as a leader. I think the needs improvement, as I scanned the evaluations today, I think it was in 2 areas primarily. So assessment, it's interesting that it was assessment and data informed. I just think the committee wants to continue to respectfully and kindly push on evidence, like really making sure that our teachers and our staff not only have access to the evidence, not only that they're collecting the evidence, but that they also have practice in translating and talking about the evidence to us and the community. We just think we have lots of room for improvement in that area. So that was something that came up. Yeah. Next slide.
I want to add something. I
Yeah,
don't even
go
know
for
if it belongs here, but to that point as well, it's also making, because we are data-driven and focused, which I wholeheartedly agree with, that's what we should be doing. I also want to be mindful during that of the kids and students and how that impacts them if we're over-assessing, like just being really aware of what, that balance. I don't want us to go too far into that level and lose sight of some other pieces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know that any comment that I saw on anybody's evaluation was actually encouraging more collection of data necessarily. I think it's that we just need to know how to really use the data we have well. And I actually would respectfully disagree with you, Nicole, in the sense that I actually think the balance that's hard to strike for this district, especially coming to a public meeting, is we want to show the celebration and the success, and sometimes we get nervous coming to the school committee and saying these are the areas where we're struggling. But I would actually ask that the district do more of that, like be honest and transparent, and just like you did with the high school, Bill, you were like, we have some work to do with the high school and this is the plan. I mean, anytime we have an opportunity to be transparent about what's a work in progress, that, back to Maria's point about the little things that build the trust, that's another example of a little step that can build so much trust with the community.
Right. No, I do agree with you on that. I just mean over assessing of the kids. I think they do a lot in the classroom, and I think they can get fatigued by it. That was actually my, where I was headed with that.
For sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yep. Next slide. The next slide was just some, and you can look at these later, Bill, but these are just some ideas and feedback in terms of when we gave some different marks, what we were getting at. So updating materials, consistency, but I won't read the whole list. You can read it later for sure. Yeah, please.
So I just, I want to thank you for this, because it's one thing to say, this is great and this we'd like to see improved, but to give, suggestive feedback is really helpful to me.
Yeah.
So you saw when I talked last meeting about the process, I go and take this, break it all down, and then work with our team to say, okay, this is what the committee's feedback was, so this gets used right away and very powerfully, so I appreciate it, makes our job easier.
Great, thanks. And the other standard that Nicole asked me to present on was the management and operations. And I will say, I actually think I was so glad, Maria, that you mentioned sort of the tiny steps that lead to trust in MSBA. I actually think this standard is a perfect example of how you've been working for years to build the trust around the MSBA, because I think what this standard showed us is that you have put so many processes in place, whether it's communication, whether it's working with Dr. Dutch and Dr. Rab on finance and how you present the budget. Now you have Ty, doing some of the systems around human resources. So our marks, honestly, our marks in this area were mostly exemplary. We were really feeling positive. We were commending you. We really believe this is an area of strength for you. We gave some examples where you've established management and operations systems, oversight, clear communication. I know, as we mentioned with the emergency plan, there's always hiccups in communication, but you're debriefing and always looking for ways to improve. And again, all of these processes, which feel sometimes boring and whatnot, they're building a sense of trust, like lots of trust in the community with that.
I would add to the other reason why this matters, and this is in DESI's form actually, it talks about how when these systems are going well, it minimizes disruptions and distractions for people in schools, which is ultimately the point of all of this.
Yeah.
Is to
Yeah,
enable
right,
those
yeah.
people to do their job. And so that's, I think, to me, why this is such an important thing. And sometimes it is an overlooked thing in districts. And that's when teachers feel that chaos and that uncertainty. And so the fact that we have these things humming along in the background is exactly how it should be. And it is a really important thing.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of this, and this again was demonstrated through the whole year with MSBA, is that last bullet, which is your ethical approaches to partnerships and always, holding another meeting so people can ask you questions and making sure that committees and groups are well represented and inviting community members into everything from strategic planning to school councils, et cetera. I think that really, it matters a lot. So, and the second slide related to this is just, you can see there were only a couple, but we tried to give you some feedback there. I will say we're looking forward. I put this on my evaluation because I've been bugging you about it, I think, for years, and I'm hopeful that Ty is going to address this. I really hope that we continue to think about hiring practices in terms of educator career growth, and then that third one, which is really recommitting to recruiting and hiring a diverse workforce. And I know from my own conversations with Ty that is on her radar screen. And so I'm hoping, if I could give a little plug, I'm hoping that that's part of your goals for next year, is to think about how we measure how we're doing, even if it's just recruiting in different ways. I know hiring can take all sorts of time and forms, but so.
Great, thank you.
I'll add to that just quickly too, on the second bullet about strengthening and adjusting those systems of communication and streamlining. So that actually leads us into, I think it's the third standard, but that was something that came through sort of as a theme as well. Let's see. Family and community engagement, also overall proficient rating, lots of exemplary marks in the categories of family concerns, engagement, and communication here. So we did have some varying, we weren't all marching along, together in this. There were varying marks in certain indicators, I will say. But we wanted to highlight some of the exemplary pieces, but also some of the improvements. And let's see, so yeah, just lots of important strides in family and community engagement, strong year for communication, lots of community meetings and conversations, of course, related to MSBA, as Carrie had mentioned, just a strength there. Budget, of course, excellent communication on that front. Yep, so and the open door policy that you always hold, calls, emails, and the commitment to transparency there is appreciated. And professional culture, so another overall rating of proficient with marks of exemplary for shared vision and communication. So just more themes to that end, making kind of some suggested improvements here for going forward, closing the loop a bit more on certain things. I will say that I marked a little more, scrutinizing some of this a little bit deeper with just some growth in terms of coherent, clear, and effective communications going out to families. Streamlining communication was a theme a little bit. I think we discussed this in the school committee meetings as well, just about how far we've come with communication, but to what we don't want to oversaturate. It's actually just similar to my theme about over testing the kids. Like, we don't want to oversaturate the community. We like increase all these things, but then we want to sort of step back and see what's the next step here. It's a lot going out in multiple modalities of communication as well. So just, looking for some growth there, but I can only add per my own evaluation that I'm excited about next steps and, new communications department growth and things. I see the future is going in the right direction here with this, but anyone else on that front? I think some other people might have had some.
I think
Anyone
these
else?
bullets go with the prior, don't they?
Family and community?
Do they not?
Communication is
Yeah,
on
the
both
communication
of
is in
them.
every,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Right,
Anything to add?
no, I think that I think that the information is being disseminated across the district. I think most people probably feel that they are getting it. I think it just sometimes, from my perspective, it's the format, which is not necessarily Bill's job to format the emails or even to put the emails together. My comments are reflective of the information is out there. We want to get all the positive things out that the district is doing and what the kids are doing. But it's, from my perspective, some more personalization and getting an email. Sometimes like, click here to get the news on this, when I don't know if it's for my kid I only have one kid, but I don't know. I'm still on an old distribution list, so I get emails. I'm not quite sure who it's from or who it's for. But that's something that I think is easily fixed and improved. But generally, I feel greatly informed of what's going on in the district. And I guess to the professional culture thing, Nicole mentioned a little bit as the retirees are leaving. If you look at the list of retirees, I think that kind of tells us that people want to work here. What are there, 13 retirees, and there's none from the high school. There's none from Cushing, Hatherley, one late para from Wampatuck. I think that tells a really good story from the superintendent on down to everybody. If I were to look at this, my conclusion would be that our staff really enjoy it here and they don't want to leave. So I think that's ultimately what it all comes down to.
We're not. And we're not having trouble finding people to fill jobs. That's not the case everywhere. We can go better, and I think we'll stop Rakowski piece, be more purposeful. The word I'm thinking of tonight is purposeful in our communications, recruiting and hiring, so we'll fine tuning on some new things that have gone well, but can now be fine tuned and made even better, so thank you for that feedback.
All right. Any final thoughts on?
Thank you for putting that all together.
Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, just to commend you, Bill, another great year. I mean, you make our job easier to some degree, right? I gotta say it's every year, like we see what's going on throughout the country and also just in Massachusetts, all the different towns and school districts that are dealing with staffing issues, superintendent issues, and we're just thankful to have you, and we're able to focus on things that are really important here, so thank you.
So, thank you for pushing me, challenging me, and supporting me all at once, because I think that's great modeling for me to do with our leaders and for our leaders to do with our educators. People would say to me, well, public evaluation must be torture. I kind of look forward to it, honestly, because we talk about transparency a lot, what better way to see the superintendent get evaluated, and it's, you know, and it's a lot of everything, it's what's going well, what can be improved, but then there's also specific examples of what we'd like to see improved. I think that's very powerful for modeling for our whole community, and again, builds trust, so. Thank you for the great feedback, I look forward to diving in and to coming back and showing improvements in these areas and continuing to grow and also to continue the great things we're doing. So we do that as a team, we get better every year, so thank you.
Okay,
Let's get that 2-year thing.
yeah, that's a good idea. I think we should. Up next, we have the policy subcommittee. No.
Oh,
do we? Oh,
See it right there.
okay. You are right. Take a motion on the superintendent's evaluation.
Cause Janice are good at it.
I make a motion to approve the superintendent's evaluation as written.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we will talk about the policy subcommittee. Ms. Fenwick.
So this is the one we talked about last meeting, and we had told you guys it's mostly just streamlining of language and bringing things into present day terminology. It doesn't really change the substance of the policy as it had been written, but it makes a lot more sense this way and includes a little bit more specificity around timelines for revisiting, which is obviously a really important thing to make sure we're doing. So the text of it is not in this
It's in the
folder, but
last
it's in the
packet.
last one.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to pull it up again.
I think it's fine. Anybody else comments?
Any
Questions?
concerns, questions?
No. Take a motion on the policy.
I make a motion on the policy at work.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I know.
Probably not, right?
I don't know.
There you go. I can make a motion.
Peter will do it.
Make a motion to approve, or update policy EFAB, life threatening allergy policy as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have minutes to approve from May 20th. Questions, comments, feedback?
haven't seen you
I thought there were.
Oh, no, there aren't any in the back.
I thought they were.
They were.
Yeah.
These are them right here. Maria, you have to sign
Myra?
these, not me.
Oh, boy, hand it over.
But they're not in the back.
I
You did them, but they're just not in the back.
But they were in the backup, yeah.
They're gone.
Originally they
They
were.
were in
They
the
disappeared.
backup row.
Mystery.
All right, well,
I see
I
them.
think they're fine.
right. I
I'll
saw
look at
them,
them
so
really
I was
quickly.
fine with
I'm
what
sure
I-
that, I think they're fine.
Okay, those are them there. So you
Yeah.
reviewed them?
Okay, they're fine.
All right.
Making a motion.
Well, at least one of the three of us was.
Yeah.
They were in the backup.
You're gonna make a motion that the school committee vote to approve the May 20th, 2024 minutes as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I sign them?
You can do it after. No, you do.
Okay.
That's your name on it.
Warrants,
Caught up for now.
caught up for now. No correspondences, any other business?
I have nothing, just.
Okay.
It's good. I really should have mentioned this at the last meeting, but I was lucky enough to go to the film fest from Miss Blake's film class. That was the students that put together, they made their films. They were like, between 15 and 20 minutes long. And they showed that the movie theater down the harbor was, I think Shore might have actually helped pay for the cost to have all the movies played, like one after another, and it was just awesome. And I did ask her to send them to Dr. Rabbit. I feel like she should send them to everybody because they were high school students making these films and they were just so good and like, they're just the talent that I think kids don't know they have is just so awesome to see. And they would just, kids also that, on a personal level, kids that I've seen like grow up making all these movies. And it was just awesome. I want to thank Ms. Blake for putting that together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to see
Sure.
that.
And on that, I didn't know that, Janice, but at the graduation, I did
Yes.
note that
A lot.
most of the appreciative comments and
Mhm.
hugs and tears were a result of Miss Blake
Yeah.
and her ability to generate interest from these kids. Everyone seemed to be so thankful. I mean, I think
They-
it must have 25 or 30 kids hugged her through
Yeah,
the line.
she was right next to us.
So that was
They
impressive. I
love
didn't know
the
that,
class.
I didn't know
Even
that that's what you did.
In my son, who was at the graduation, who took her class like probably 3 years ago. And even his classmates were like, Miss Blake's here, like they were like seeking her out because they loved her class that much.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
That was great. It was
So
great to see
shout out to
that.
Miss Blake.
Absolutely. I love that. All right.
Happy Pride to everybody.
Yes.
Oh. Right.
Yes. Happy Pride Month to everyone in Situate Public Schools and Situate community.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it, I guess. No, any future agenda items? No. All right. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 7:46.
Second.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.